So you're on the site, you see a nice piece of land, nice and flat. You're like, wow,
Mhm.
this could be a great deal. What do you do as far as, I mean, I'm just thinking, I'm just kind of trying to compare it to real estate,
Yeah.
residential. At that point, I'd probably go see the property. I guess, what's the next step for land?
Yeah. We've done over 500 deals in the last 5 years. I've stepped foot on like two of them, maybe
Wow.
three now. So we don't like, you can do everything from the computer, really. Um, Again, like when it comes down to it, if the land's usable, like it's not sloped like this, or like there's not a huge, it's not in a massive floodplain or flood zone or wetland or something like that, right? If the property is usable, like you're kind of there you go. Like if you've hit your check marks, and again, there's a lot of different verticals in land, and I'm
Right.
specifically talking about, call it like very rural stuff outside the city, right? But when you get into that, man, like you can find this stuff very, very cheap, and you can find people that will pay for it as well on the sales side, on the back end. And so when I'm like deciding on a new market, I don't go much deeper than that up front, right?
Right.
I say, hey, there's sales, the lots look usable. I want to mail this area. We do a lot of direct mail. So then we go back to our software and pull the leads and send the mail, basically, right?
Gotcha. Okay. So you find the property, right? And you put in an offer. I'm guessing you mentioned the financing for land is tough. So you just go cash?
Yeah, so there's a ton of different ways to do it. Just like in residential real estate, you can
Right. Right.
wholesale, you can seller finance, you do all sorts of things. So we definitely employ the same strategies, but
Okay.
the best deals come from people who have like had it for a while and they've tried to sell it and they can't, and they just got to sell it, right?
Right.
Because we're very specific in our marketing to people. It's like land, like it'll say to my letter, land is an illiquid asset. Like it does not sell well, right? And most people who've tried to sell it, they know that. They're like, I
Right.
know it's a huge pain. So basically, somebody responds to a mailer or cold call or a text, and we talk to them. We give them an offer. We normally start around 30 cents on the dollar. You'll very quickly find out like if they're interested in that or not. They'll like tell you to pound sand or not. But oftentimes if they say no, then we can go into more advanced stuff like seller financing it, or there's all sorts of little tricks and tips in the land
Right.
space. Traditionally, like for this lower price stuff, cash cash talks, right?
Right.
Like money talks. So you put somebody an offer for 3,000 and they're like, can you close in 30 days? I'm like, sure, right? The lot's worth 15,000, so you can go sell it for more.
Right.
That's where we find our best deals. So direct to seller, right? Most
Gotcha.
of that. And then we just put an offer in, and it's 9 no's for every yes, but right.
Right.
Same thing
Well,
for
you're
you.
putting a lot of offers. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So I guess that part's sounds pretty similar to residential. You off market strategies, you put in a lot of offers and you get a lot of no's. And
Mhm.
then on the disposition side, so for residential, probably listing it back on the market. You could sell it to a private investor or whatnot. But as far as the land goes, I guess where do you find these land buyers who are looking to
Mhm.
pay, either top dollar or buy seller financing?
Yeah. Probably a lot of the same ways you would. Facebook ads, Zillow, and then, like I said, CoStar owns. If you Google land for sale in XYZ place, it'll probably be one of their four sites that's first, and then
Got
Zillow
it.
or something that's second. So, I'm a lot farther along. I probably pay like $1,500 a month to CoStar for marketing. So that's probably where half of our stuff sells through. And
Gotcha.
then the rest of it comes from Facebook ads. We have a huge, like we got like 20,000 people on our email list. We just have a bunch of different ways. But like the answer to the newbie is, okay, I bought this, for lack of
Right.
better words, kind of piece of crap property out in the middle of
Right.
nowhere. Like, how do I sell it? You list it, right? And it's the same thing with me. The first time I bought it, spent $1,500 on this lot. I was like, this guru took me for a ride. Like, no one's gonna buy this thing, right? Put it on Facebook Marketplace, it sold in like 2 weeks,
Wow.
right? So there is demand out there. It's if you're not in the land space, it's hard to convince yourself there is. So you kind of gotta do it once or twice.
That's funny.
And then that's like I said, like I just got addicted because there is a huge demand, right?
Gotcha.
Not a lot of people know about it. So
Right. And are there like realtors who specialize or brokers that specialize in land that you work with often, or are you just completely like off market Facebook ads, Zillow, I guess not Zillow, but I guess
yes,
just off market?
Um, so different people do it differently. Like one of my clients I was talking to earlier, they do 100% realtor dispositions. I started my business and I built my sales side in-house, and we're just really good at what we do. So I like having control over the sales side. So in the 500 lots we've sold, unless there was a realtor on the other side of the transaction, we've never used a realtor.
Gotcha.
And that's because 97% of realtors are terrible at land. They have no clue what they're talking about. They don't know how to like capture a buyer's attention and take them through a sales funnel and talk to them and close the deal, right? So
I think that applies to all realtors. No, I'm just kidding.
no, it does. Yeah, like everyone has their realtor stuff, but a good land realtor is worth every percent. And like a good land realtor is going to charge you 8 to 10% of a sale price to sell something. So they know their value, right? But you find that person and you bring them the right deal that they can sell, then they're a great asset. I like having my sales side in house because it allows me to like go to new markets quickly. I don't need to like set everything up. We just get a bunch of leads in and yeah.
Do you ever buy land to hold on to it, or do you strictly sell it in some way, shape, or form?
I'm not actively marketing for it, but through the nature of like how many letters we send and all that stuff, I've probably got a few properties in the I got a few that I'm like, if I got a bug out, like I'm gonna keep this one. Maybe I'll build a house on this one. So like there's a few I've kept because we just got great deals on them.
Right.
But I don't really market to hold. And like that's another strategy. That's land banking, right? So you can 1031 into a land deal, which will grow very slowly, and whole nother strategy. Normally a lot higher dollar properties. So I personally don't do it for my personal use, but again, I have a few properties out there. So
right. All right, very cool. Very cool. So now, I'm just thinking for a newbie here, we talked about marketing for the or finding the property, four different sites. Once you buy that property, you mentioned you don't really need to go see it. You can, especially if it's a low dollar amount of $2,000 property. Yeah. That's also pretty, I guess, relaxing for an investor. Cause a lot of times they hear, oh, if I buy a house for $300,000 and it goes south, I'm screwed. Mm-hmm. But for land, especially the smaller rural things, I'm just thinking, so let's talk about this. What can go wrong on one of those transactions? Let's say newbie's like, all right, I got $5,000. I don't want to lose it, but what could happen if they buy a bad deal? What does that look? Yeah. What does a bad deal look like?
And this is a little counterintuitive, but I've never lost money on a land deal. Like to date, if I pulled a P&L for every property, I've never lost money. There's a few where we've gotten right there on that razor edge, right? There's a lot of things that can go wrong. When you get outside of the city and you're farther away, some of these problems matter less, right? So for example, if I tried to sell a lot that was sloped at 25% for market value inside of a city subdivision, like people are going to be like, no, like I'll just buy a different lot that's flat, right? But get out an hour and a half from the city, there's a whole group of people who want a sloped lot so they can set up a tree stand so they can hunt down into a valley. Like there's just different buyers.
Right.
So, what can go wrong on a deal, and generally where I see people messing up in their early stages is overpaying. Land is catching more steam now. Like people are hearing about it and learning about it and stuff like this. So more people are jumping in. And that makes, where 3 years ago, I could buy a property easily at 25 cents on the dollar. Wow. Now we're pushing that up 35 cents, 45 cents, right? Depending. I see a lot of people mess up by because those margins are so fat, they come out and say, oh, well, I'll just pay 70 cents on the dollar or 60 cents on the dollar, and I'll still make a great spread. Well, what people forget is that the reason we sell so quickly is because we offer really great deals, right? So where something may be $20,000 listed with a realtor, I have an off-market listing that I'm selling person to person for 15 or 16 grand. Obviously, they're going to call me first, right?
Right.
So pricing is a big one, because if you just look at what a realtor sells land for and you don't look at what other investors sell land for, you'll get a false expectation of what it's worth in the area. And then you'll pay too much and then you're stuck with it, right?
Gotcha.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, so when you're comping out land, when you look at a land that you're going to buy, I know you said to look at the comps, other land that's sold in the area. What features about that land and that previous sale should you really be looking at and comparing? Thanks for watching that clip from the Real Estate Investing Made Simple podcast. If you want to see the entire interview, go ahead and click the link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned for all future episodes.